Fallout 4's open world is so massive that even now, over a year and a half after its release, people are still discovering new things in the game. Hey, I'm Dave with ArcadeCloud, and today we're looking at all the Easter eggs in Fallout 4 you may have missed. There's a lot to go through here, so let's jump right in.
Retro games. First up, we have what is possibly the most obvious, but still coolest Easter egg in Fallout 4 with the various games you can play on the Pip-Boy. Throughout your journey, you'll come across holotapes that you can use with your Pip-Boy, and among these are several video games. Every one of these Pip-Boy games are based off of a real-life retro game. These games include Red Menace, which is a parody of Donkey Kong, Pitfall, aka Pitfall, Grognak and the Ruby Runes, which is like Ultima, Atomic Command, which is just like Missile Command, and Zeta Invaders, which is, of course, Space Invaders. Sure, your spouse is dead, your son is missing, and the whole world has gone to shit, but there's always time to browse through your personal library of Atari knockoffs that you're carrying around on your wrist. Nirnroot. Even Bethesda's own series are not safe from Fallout 4's Easter eggs, as a small nod to Elder Scrolls series can be found at Brotherhood of Steel's flagship, the Pridwin. Inside the portion of the ship where Naraya conducts various experiments, you'll be able to find various plants lying around. One of the plants is labeled as an experimental plant, and no, not the kind that you're thinking of. The Brotherhood of Steel has a strict no-smoking policy. This plant is of particular interest as it bears a striking resemblance to the singing Nirnroot plant, which is used for alchemy purposes in various Elder Scrolls games. Sadly, you can't use it to craft poisons or invisibility potions here. It's just for show. I'll be watching you. Have you ever been out in the Commonwealth, blowing up a Deathclaw and getting that strange feeling that you're being watched? That is for good reason, as through a good portion of the game, you are. Once you've found the railroad in the game, you'll find a character named Deacon. This character helps you get into the railroad by vouching for you, saying that you can be trusted. But how does he know that? That is because through the entirety of the game, Deacon has actually been watching you from the shadows. If you look closely, you can find this guy disguised as one of the guards in Diamond City, in one of the pods at the Memory Den, and even waiting for you as you start your adventure outside of the vault. He's almost like G-Man from Half-Life. Always there. Always watching. Creepy. The GOAT Conf Test. For gamers who played through Fallout 3, you may remember being given the GOAT test at the beginning of the game. This test was administered to the Lone Wanderer as a child to help allocate beginning attributes. In Fallout 4, you can travel on over to the town of Covenant, where an NPC named Swanson will administer a version of this test called the Safe Test to the players to determine if they are a, quote, good person to allow them entry to the town. It's kinda like the GOAT test, but instead of creating your attributes, it tests whether or not you're a synth. Are you or have you ever been a robot created by the morally dubious institute and used to replace humans? The test itself is a reference to the Voight-Kampff test from the movie Blade Runner that was administered to unsuspecting humans to see if they were replicants. Which brings us right into our next Easter egg, Tears in the Radioactive Rain. Hidden away on top of the roof of the small and unassuming mass fusion containment shed, you'll find the game's subtle recreation of the famous movie scene, an inactive synth sitting across from a corpse sporting a sweet duster jacket. If you're thinking, I don't get it, what's the reference? That's fine. But if you're starting to say, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. Ding ding ding! You are correct! It's the Tears in the Rain scene from Blade Runner. Step right up and get your free Nuka-Cola, folks. Fallout staged these two characters next to each other on a random rooftop to pay yet another homage to the cinematic masterpiece Blade Runner, Conan in the Shadow. And yet another nod to nerd culture are the characters of the Silver Shroud and Grognak the Barbarian. Grognak, whom you will see displayed on various in-game comics, and the aforementioned Grognak and the Ruby Runes, is a blatant parody of the popular movie and comic character Conan the Barbarian. Chances are that if you aren't the least bit familiar with the character and have played Fallout 4 for a bit of time, then you don't need us to point out this obvious reference to you. Slightly less obvious, however, is the main character of the in-game radio show, the Silver Shroud. This crime-fighting character that takes villains down from the shadows is a reference to a similar character from the 1930s known as the Shadow. In case it didn't already sound sort of familiar to another Cape Crusader we all know and love, the Shadow did indeed go on to be the inspiration for the Dark Knight himself. Batman. Cheers. Need a place to unwind from your adventures in the Commonwealth? Maybe somewhere where everybody knows your name? This is the case, drop on into the local Prost Bar. For fans of television in the late 80s and early 90s, the location known as Prost Bar may seem very familiar. This is because the bar is set up to look just like the famous bar featured in the hit show Cheers. The bar features various little nods to the show strewn out throughout the bar. Even the skeleton of the mailman Cliff Clavin is there to greet you. It may not be the most lively of bars, but hey, drinks are on the house, so cheers to that! Terminal illness. The various terminals that the player can hack throughout the Commonwealth contain enough text to fill up at least one Song of Ice and Fire book, and among these various text logs are references to numerous film and television shows. One such example is a log that references Brotherhood of Steel Knight R. Cole's troubles with drugs and alcohol. This log loosely references the Matthew McConaughey character from True Crime known as Rustin Cole, who also struggles with alcohol and drug addiction. Another set of references comes from the terminals in the BAD-TFL office, where one log has a man complaining about loose cannon officers named Wilson and Gibbs. This is a jab at the characters of John McClane from Die Hard, played by Bruce Willis, and Martin Riggs of Lethal Weapon, played by Mel Gibson. One more reference to be found at BAD-TFL gives a nod to Jake Blues from the Blues Brothers. While his name has been changed to Jake Reds in the log entry, the details about the character's personal effects match up with those of Blues when he was released from prison in Blues Brothers. If only I had bothered reading any of the terminals in this game. Good Will Hunting. In an easy-to-miss Easter egg, if the player makes their way over to the CIT Rotunda and takes a look around, they're bound to come across a chalkboard. Fans of the movie Good Will Hunting will notice that, upon closer inspection, the symbols on the chalkboard are similar to the ones drawn by Will Hunting in the film. So, how do you like them apples? We're going to need a bigger boat. Fans of the classic 80s film Jaws can find a rather amusing Easter egg located in the waters right outside of Oberlin Station. Right off the shore, you'll find a small boat that has a corpse and large sea creature inside. If you inspect close to the corpse, you'll notice the presence of a machete that you can pick up. The setup of this little scene is a direct reference to the first Jaws film, which the character Quint is killed by the titular shark while trying to fight him off with a machete. Now, if only someone can tell me how Quint got the lower half of his torso back. More Blade Runner. On your visit to Diamond City, you may come across a robot that is speaking Japanese and selling noodles named Takahashi. While this in itself is strange, the Easter egg here comes from what the robot says. When the player talks to the robot, Takahashi will say, "Nani shimasu ka?" This translates to, "What will you do?" This line is spoken by a similar noodle vendor in the film Blade Runner, whom asks his customers the same thing. You'd think that Bethesda loved Blade Runner or something. Wait. Futuristic sci-fi creation of synthetic humans that had moral gray areas and must be hunted down for the good of humanity? Oh, I get it now. Synths are replicants and replicants are synths. Everything makes sense now. Even so, all I can think is that I want some of those noodles. Alien numbers. Can't get enough of those 80s sci-fi movie references? Well, we have one more for you. As during the course of your game, you may encounter an item known as a flux sensor. Should you examine the item in your menu and flip to the backside, you can read the serial number on this product, CM88B 180924609. This is an obscure reference to the movie Alien, as the number also serves as the ID number for the Nostromo, which is the setting of the first film, UFO and Blaster. Speaking of aliens, our next Easter egg is one that's sure to make Giorgio A. Tsoukalos happy. Should you find yourself around the Old Gullet sinkhole and take a look up to the sky, you'll notice a UFO shooting by. Apparently the UFO's drivers had a shot too many of tequila, because if you then head south of the Beantown Brewery, you'll be able to find the UFO again, only this time in the form of a fiery wreck. This Easter egg doesn't end there, as if you follow a trail of green blood leading from the UFO, you'll come across an alien hiding out in a cave, which you can then kill to take its blaster, a unique weapon that you can only acquire through this circle of events. Love for Lovecraft. Famous author H.P. Lovecraft, which is known for his rather disturbing classics, is said to be a favorite among the crew at Bethesda Games. This shows a lot in the case of Fallout 4, as it's possible to find a few references to the author littered throughout the game. First of these comes from the location of the Pickman Gallery. Inside the gallery, the player can find many disturbing paintings and sculptures that look like something that Ed Gein would make. This area and the works inside are inspired by the H.P. Lovecraft story Pickman's Model, which is about an artist that is known for his paintings that are said to radiate evil. The second Lovecraft reference comes from the quarry known as the Dunwich Borers, which is, aptly enough, a reference to the Lovecraft tale of the Dunwich Horrors. The area itself is a reference to the story as well, with the player encountering many similar horrors to those in the story throughout their journey in the Borers. Interesting note, Lovecraft was from the Commonwealth area in real life, making these references all the more appropriate. Edgar Allan Poe. Lovecraft isn't the only eerie writer to get some love in Fallout 4, as there's also a reference to the much revered Edgar Allan Poe hidden in the game. One of the rooms in the Minuteman Fortress, known as the Castle, features a skeleton that is chained up behind a wall. This skeleton is said to be that of the former general of the Minutemen, who is said to have drank himself to death. This setup is the same as that in Poe's tale The Cask of Amontillado, in which the story's narrator got his rival drunk trunk before chaining him up behind a wall. What makes this reference even cooler is that the real-life counterpart of the castle is Fort Independence. This fort is said to be where Edgar Allan Poe was stationed when he himself was in the military. Fenway Park Egg. It's no secret that the area known as Diamond City in Fallout 4 is the game counterpart of real-life Fenway Park. But did you know just how detailed the developers of the game made the park? For example, if you look in the stadium seats, you'll notice one red seat stands out from the rest of them. This is an actual landmark at Fenway, as the spot that this solemn red seat stands is said to be where the furthest home run in the stadium was hit by Ted Williams in 1946. While Fallout 4 has plenty of Easter eggs for the nerdy crowd, this little nod to sports history will be sure to catch the eye of some players, especially Red Sox fans.
This is all the Fallout 4 Easter eggs that we found, but with downloadable content that we didn't even cover in one of the largest game worlds in history. I'm sure there are a few Easter eggs we may have missed, so let us know in the comments below as well as what your favorite Fallout Easter egg is. Also, if you like this video, be sure to leave us a like and subscribe to see more videos coming out every week. And leave us a like on our Facebook. You can find a link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.